Look, you have a lifetime 284 batting average, which is amazing, and you had 105 home runs over your career. Do you still remember your first home run?
Yeah, Yankee Stadium. When I got called up to Detroit, it was the start of a 3-city road trip: Detroit, New York, and Toronto. And the first night in New York was a Friday night. Melito Perez, home run to right field, Yankee Stadium.
Okay. Is there any of those 105 home runs which are more significant in your eyes, or are they all the same? Or?
No, not really. I think they're all enjoyable. I could probably go through all 105 of them. Hitting a home run in the big leagues, regardless of the score or wherever it is pretty. It's just fun. It's just a fun experience. You get to run around the bases. Everyone's looking at you. Sometimes you've beaten the other team with it or whatever. But it's just an enjoyable time.
Now there's the video clip on your highlights. There's one, I think it's Yankee Stadium, where you hit the upper deck. The ball's about to go out of the stadium. Yeah. Now when you hit that, you must know you've got all that. Is it tough not to get a smirk or a grin or thinking, have a quick look?
I remember that one. I remember had a bit of style about me. Again, you're out there, you're competing against the other team, and sometimes things happen where you're glad it happened, so you can sort of enjoy the other team looking at you having success against them, and that was one of them moments.
Yeah, that's good. Now, it wasn't all smooth sailing in the big leagues. I mean, you put up outstanding numbers, but there was an illness in 1995 which really put the skids on your career for a while.
Yeah, well, the 94 season ended. We finished with a strike, which was a real low point of just baseball in general. And then, as we're getting ready for the 95 season, I just played an ABL season here and was up in Queensland. And right before we went over, I got Ross River fever. I think I got it playing golf on a golf course. A lot of rain up here, and a lot of other people had it, but it really knocked me around. Had trouble walking, a real arthritic virus that if not for the doctors checking me every day and giving me medicines every day, that you question whether they should have or not. Their doctors, I don't know, but that really got me through the season, and it kind of was a catalyst to the next season, just preparing my body and getting back in shape and playing again.
Okay. Well, it certainly didn't hold you back, because in 1996 you ended up, after the full season, hitting 331 for a whole year, and was way at the top of the major league, probably challenging for the hitting trophy that year.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty fun year. I'd had periods in the minor leagues where I'd got on rolls and led leagues in hitting and stuff like that, and so I guess I was a bit of a streaky here in that sense, where when I got on a roll, I really enjoyed it. But for that season, I was really healthy. I was surrounded by a very good team, and I just got in that zone and swung the bat really well. I think I finished 5th or 6th in the league, and 331, and I think the 4 or 5 guys ahead of me all played on turf or something like that. So I remember in my own head thinking I was probably as good as anyone in the league that time.
Yeah, I remember I'm probably going to go back a little bit here, but you've discussed it previously. Everyone talks about the green grass and the smell of the grass and that, but you've discussed with me previously about Milwaukee at the start of the season, which I found amazing.
It's such a tough place to play. We had the outdoor stadium, so the first 6 weeks in Milwaukee, the last 6 weeks in Milwaukee is probably the toughest weather place. Maybe Chicago sometimes, but opening day Milwaukee, 94. Graham Lloyd was there as well. You look at it on TV and the grass looks beautiful green, but all it is like concrete, and they've just got old shavings they've mixed with colour paint and just sprinkle the field with it. So you're actually playing on what feels like concrete.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing. Now, 1999, you end up hitting 311 for the year, but it was an important year for yourself and also for Australia, because we got our first ever All-Star representative. You're voted into the All-Star game.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting period. I'd sort of gotten to the stage of my career, and I don't want to sound wrong, where I didn't think it was going to happen. 94, I thought I was a shoo-in to make the All-Star team that year, and the last selection actually went to another guy in the Brewers. And 96, I'd had a really good year. I think I was maybe 360 or something like that at the break, and I thought I was in a really good position 96 to get to the All-Star game, and that didn't happen as well. So even though I knew 98, 99 was a good year, I was a little bit reluctant. We weren't a first-place team, so the selection criteria for All-Stars changed a lot. Right now I think there are 6 or 7 guys on the roster. So back then you had your one player from each team. So when I did make it, the unique thing was that there was 2 of us from the Brewers, so that made it pretty special.
Yeah. And how was that? I mean, being at that All-Star game. I mean, you've been in the big league 6 or 7 years, so it's not probably going to be as daunting as your debut, but it's still got to be daunting for you, knowing you're the first ever Australian representing not only yourself, your family, and a whole country at this All-Star game.
Yeah, I was dealing with a lot of different things, obviously. A lot of different dynamics, all the stuff you just referenced. Probably the toughest thing, without a doubt, of that All-Star game was we had done a 15-day road trip prior to that in 4 cities, and 3 of the cities were turf cities, and there was the heat wave. So as a catcher, I think I'd caught 12 of the 15 games, and I was physically exhausted. So by the time I got to the All-Star game, I was flat. But after being there 10 minutes, the adrenaline kicked in, and what a fantastic time it was, and what a great experience. And to see Grant do it, last year, it was great for him, and hopefully there'll be more Australians in the future.
Yeah, that's great. Now, it was after that season you became a free agent, and you ended up playing for the Chunichi Dragons in Japan. The Australian Olympics were in 2000, which then meant you could qualify for the Olympics. So how was the move to Japan? I mean, you've got a young family. They wouldn't have spoken a lot of English over there. They don't speak a lot of English there now, but there was probably no English there. I mean, that's got to be tough. Just not the baseball side of it, but having to have everything else that goes with it.
Yeah, look, off the field was tough, but you get looked after pretty good, so you kind of tolerate that stuff. Not tolerate, you deal with it, you enjoy the experience. As I reflect, probably the toughest thing was just not being able to communicate to players and about other opposition pitchers, or just, I think the whole communication thing really wore me down. And when I got sent down to the minor leagues and there was a lot more English-speaking people down there, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. So as I reflect now, I think that was by far the hardest thing, was just not being able to communicate with other players, talk about pitches, where do you play guys, what do you do, the scouting, turn up the scouting report every day. I had no idea what anyone was talking about. I had to wait till I was in the box, normally 2 strikes on me before I knew what they got. And they saw that act for a couple of weeks and they got rid of me. So
okay. Now, you're a 2-time Olympian. How do the Olympics, once was 2004, obviously won the silver medal, but how does the Olympics compare to the thrill of representing your country again, compared to sort of being over in the US, things like that?
Yeah, well, they're different things. It's different now. There's a World Baseball Classic, and you have all major league players involved. So you're talking about a different era. You're talking about an era where Australia had never really achieved much on the international map, and I think it was a bit of a real coming out party for the nation to show we had some good players. Prior to the 2000 Olympics, we won a gold medal at the Intercontinental Cup in Sydney. That was a super event, and to not follow that up in Sydney was really disappointing, and then to be able to follow that up in Japan, in Athens, was really satisfying, and to beat the Japanese team twice in like 5 days, I think just kind of capped it off. So yeah, I think it was just very satisfying growing up in a country where baseball was just nothing to actually achieve something.
And since then, obviously, you're not only in the Australian Baseball Hall of Fame, but the prestigious Australia Sports Hall of Fame. You're our first nominee, and since then we've had Graham go into it last year, I think. That's a massive honour, and again, it gets back to this part where there's 3 or 4 of you that are continually being pioneers and carried our sport into the openness.
Yeah, huge honour. Great to see Graham to get that recognition. I'm sure Craig will get it soon too. I'm sure he'll be inducted in there pretty soon. But yeah, it's I guess it's just a reminder of what you went through. When you're going through it, you're really enjoying it. But as you get older, you get these awards that just remind you of how much fun you had and the contribution you made.
And now, and it's just a case of baseball not being big out here, and you see it. I mean, you can walk around here and not be bothered. But if you're back in Milwaukee, I mean, you've recently been voted into their Walk of Fame. You were voted as the best catcher ever for the Milwaukee Brewers. Get out here, you can walk down the street and don't get a second look. I mean, I know it doesn't. That's not the part that interests you, but those honours are huge, and people probably don't understand how well known, respected, well liked, and revered you are in these US cities.
Yeah.
You'd say yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's an honour to be given them awards, and again, yeah, I mean, Australia's just a different place when it comes to baseball, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay, now you're back on the field again and managing in the ABL. You have any thoughts how that's tracking this year, the ABL? How are we going, the Bandits?
Yeah, look,
win it all?
It's just fun to be in uniform. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I stopped doing it. I thought that time was behind me, and Mark Reedy convinced me to get back into uniform again, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't know what it means or where it's going or any of that stuff. I'm just enjoying being back in uniform with the Brisbane guys.
Oh. And look, thanks very, very much for your time, David. Really appreciate it. One of our true pioneers. Thanks.
Thank you.